Ever imagined having to pick between, like, your family's entire legacy and the love of your life?
Wow.
That's exactly what Princess Mako of Japan had to face.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, and today we're going deep, deep into her story.
Okay.
It's a total whirlwind romance, captivated the entire world,
Yeah.
sparked a ton of debate about tradition, duty, love, the whole thing in, like, modern-day Japan.
Yeah, it's a story that really gets to you, because it makes you rethink everything you thought about royalty.
It does, it does.
Like, we always picture princesses living in these fairy tales, but Mako's experience, it's a completely different reality.
Totally. And we've got articles, podcasts, even historical accounts, all in a big stack right here.
Yeah.
And they all paint like this super vivid picture of her life, her choices, and how they like totally change things.
And the thing that really hits you is how this story is so tied to Japanese culture and history, especially this thing called the Imperial Household Law of 1947. This law basically says who gets to be the ruler, and it puts all these rules on the women in the royal family.
Okay, so for those of us who aren't like experts on Japanese royalty, what's in this law and why is it so important to Mako's story?
So basically, the law says that only guys, like directly related to the emperor, can become emperor.
Mm-hmm.
So if a princess marries a regular guy, she's not royal anymore.
Wow.
It's a rule that has shaped like so many princesses' lives, even before Mako, and it totally changed how people saw her relationships.
It's like a backward fairy tale. Instead of some like regular person marrying into royalty, you have a princess becoming a regular person because of love.
Exactly. And this isn't just like some story, it really happened.
Right.
Mako's aunt, Sayako, she lived through this when she married a town planner back in 2005.
Wow.
She had to give up her title and learn all the everyday stuff that we all just like do.
Yeah.
Driving a car, going to the store, it shows you just how much Mako was giving up.
It's like you really see the sacrifices and the power of these old traditions. Yeah. But before we get into how people reacted and all the drama around Mako's relationship, let's go back a bit. Let's talk about her early life.
Yes, to really get her choices, you got to understand where she came from.
Totally.
So Mako's the oldest granddaughter of the former emperor Akihito.
Uh-huh.
She grew up in the public eye, went to this fancy school, Gakushin school.
Oh, yeah. The one for, like, Japan's elite, right?
Exactly, the elite.
But even with, like, that traditional upbringing, she still showed she had her own way of thinking.
Right.
Remember that thing with the Sailor Moon fan art?
Oh, yeah?
When she was, like, a teenager? That was a big deal.
That was a crazy time.
It showed, like, who Mako really was.
Yeah.
And it also showed how the imperial household, the people who managed the royal family, were struggling to, like, deal with the modern world.
Totally. This video with Mako in her school uniform as Sailor Moon, it went viral.
I remember that.
And the Imperial Household Agency, they had no idea what to do.
It's kind of like, looking back, it was a sign of what was to come.
Mm.
Like, Mako was going to push boundaries, even if she didn't mean to.
Yeah.
And that independent spirit just kept going with her education. She studied in Dublin, in Edinburgh, and ended up with a master's degree in art museum studies.
Shows you how much she loved art and culture.
Yeah.
And that passion is still there,
Yeah.
She's volunteering at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York now.
Oh, that's amazing.
Shows she's still following her passions, even after leaving royal life.
It really does. It shows how much she wanted to make her own way.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this was happening while she was falling for Kei Komuro, who became her husband.
Yeah. Their love story, it started at the International Christian University in Tokyo at like a study abroad event.
Yeah.
People say that Mako, she was drawn to Kei's like warmth. She even said he had a smile like the sun.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And Kei, he admired her grace and intelligence.
Sounds like a real connection, you know?
It does, a real spark in the middle of all the pressures of their worlds.
It really shows you that even princesses, they fall in love just like anyone else.
Yeah.
But their fairy tale romance, it got real fast when they announced their engagement in 2017.
Oh, yeah. Things changed quickly.
People seemed happy at first, but then the media just went crazy.
I did.
They focused on Kei's family, especially his mom's money problems.
Yeah.
It was like a media circus.
It was. Every tabloid, every news channel, they were picking apart his life, saying he wasn't good enough for a princess.
And this is where those like super deep cultural values and traditions we talked about, they come crashing in, right?
Exactly.
Kei's family's money problems became his problems, even though he had his own accomplishments and dreams.
It shows the intense pressure and expectations on anyone who joins the Japanese royal family.
Wow.
Lineage, reputation, your place in society, they're everything. Even a tiny little problem can become a huge deal. And it wasn't just like gossip magazines,
Right.
Even the serious news, they were questioning if Kay was good enough to be a royal husband.
Yeah, they completely ignored all the good stuff about him, like graduating from law school and working at a good firm.
It's like their values just clash with how things are today. Family is huge in Japan, but judging someone just because of their family's past, that doesn't feel right in this day and age.
It makes you think, that podcast we talked about, Noble Blood?
Yeah.
They compared Mako to Meghan Markle, the whole media thing, the backlash.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
It shows it's not just Japan. Women who marry into royalty anywhere, they face this crazy pressure to fit into these old-fashioned ideas. It makes you wonder, can these royal families, with all their history and rules, actually support their own people?
Yeah, especially the women who are always in the spotlight.
Exactly.
That's a big question everywhere now. As we move into the 21st century, everyone's rethinking what it means to be royal.
Totally. And for Mako and Kai, they met that challenge head on.
They did.
They could have just given in, called off the whole thing, and avoided the whole mess.
So many people probably thought they would.
I bet. But they stuck together. Through all the negativity, the disapproval, they didn't give up. That says a lot about their love and their strength.
Absolutely. It challenges that whole idea that fairy tales are just stories.
They really do.
Your story is like real-life proof that love can get through anything.
So true. And they made some pretty unconventional choices to get their happiness.
Yeah.
Like skipping the whole traditional royal wedding.
Right. Mako didn't take the dowry the money princesses get when they leave the family.
Oh, yeah.
It's a ton of money supposed to support them. But Mako saying no to that, it sent a big message.
It really did. It was like she was saying, this isn't about money or what people expect. It's about love, and I'm doing it my way.
Exactly. And their wedding, or I guess lack of wedding, was just as unconventional.
Right. They just went to the local government office in Tokyo, signed the papers.
No big party, no royal stuff, just them.
So different from all those fancy royal weddings we see.
It's like they wanted to break free from all those rules and do their own thing.
Yeah, and that's why they moved to New York City, right?
Totally. They traded in that royal life for, the anonymity of Manhattan.
The whole world was watching, right? This Japanese princess who grew up so sheltered, choosing to start a new life in one of the most, chaotic cities in the world.
It felt like they were finally free. They could just be themselves without all the pressure and expectations.
And it seems like they're making it work.
Key passed the New York bar exam, finally. Shows how determined he is.
He is. And Mako, she's volunteering at the Met, doing what she loves.
It's like they found a sense of normal in New York, something they couldn't find in Japan.
Totally. Although, haven't the paparazzi still been bothering them a little?
Yeah, fame's tough to escape, even when you don't want it. They still get some attention, but it looks like they've found their own little private space in the middle of all that.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Their story makes you think about the future of the Japanese monarchy. Like with that imperial household law we talked about, the one that only lets men be emperor.
Right. But that's changing, isn't it?
Yeah, people are starting to think differently. Polls show most Japanese people want women to be able to become empress and pass on their royal status, no matter if their kid's a boy or girl.
It's a huge shift, and it fits in with the whole idea of modernization and gender equality we see all over the world now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Will the imperial household and the Japanese government change their ways?
I guess we'll see. Mako and Key, they chose love and happiness over tradition. Maybe that will open the door for other royals to make their own choices.
It's like their love story, even with all the drama, could be the spark for change, for a whole national conversation about what it means to be royal in the 21st century.
Oh.
It's not just Japan either, right?
Right.
Monarchies everywhere, they're all dealing with this tradition versus modern world thing.
It's true. We're seeing this clash everywhere. People want to keep those old ways, but things are changing, values are changing, and like we saw with Mako and Kay, personal stories, they can become the center of these huge debates.
Speaking of personal stories, we haven't talked about Mako's great aunt, Tako Shimozu, right?
Oh, yeah. Her story's incredible, almost more dramatic than Mako's in some ways.
Really?
Takako was Emperor Hirohito's daughter, so way closer to the throne than Mako. And back in 1960, she decided to marry a banker, a regular guy just like Mako.
So she lost her royal title, too, because of that loss.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just about dealing with what people thought.
What do you mean?
Someone tried to kidnap her.
Seriously.
Yeah.
That's scary. Shows you how dangerous fame and money can be, especially for people who are like symbols of a whole country.
It does, it does. So these guys pretended to be bill collectors,
Uh-huh.
tried to get into her house, wanted to kidnap her and get a ransom. Luckily, one of them got cold feet and told the press.
Okay.
That's what stopped it.
It makes you think, even when you step away from the spotlight, you can still be a target.
Yeah,
They face pressure from everyone,
right.
and then people trying to use them for money.
Exactly. And even after all that, Taka still got criticized for her choices.
I mean, she moved to Washington, D.C. with her husband for a while, then they came back to Japan.
Right?
She got a job as a consultant at a fancy store in Tokyo. What's wrong with that?
Well, back then, it was a big deal for a former royal to have a normal job. Like, they had these super strict rules about what they could do, even if they weren't royal anymore.
Wow. Makes you wonder how much has really changed since then.
Yeah.
Seems like even though things are different now, the pressure to follow those old traditions in the Japanese monarchy is still there.
That's true. Both Tako and Mako, their stories make us think about tradition versus individual choice, especially in institutions that are so important culturally. Their stories ask us, what do we expect from people born into privilege?
Right.
What sacrifices should they make for tradition?
So, as we finish our deep dive into Mako and Key's love story, it's clear it wasn't your typical fairy tale.
Definitely not.
They had so much scrutiny, cultural pressures, and in the end, they chose love and happiness over everything else.
It's amazing. Their story shows the power of choice, how much people want freedom and to control their own lives. It reminds us that even in systems with tons of rules and traditions, there's always room for change, to grow, to have the courage to make your own path.
Mako and Key and even Takako's story, they give us a lot to think about. They make us question tradition in the modern world.
Yeah.
They show the struggles of people who go against expectations. And ultimately, they celebrate love and personal fulfillment even when things are tough. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of Japanese royalty. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, keep diving deep into the stories that matter.